This thing continues to go on. We began with the extradition protest, and now it seems to just grown into a defense of what the protesters call democracy. How does this play out? Does it ultimately start to fade away? Because it shows no signs.
Ultimately, it depends what China decides to do. They have a choice in Beijing. Do they want more prosperity for China, or do they want more political control over Hong Kong? Because if they go in, the Chinese military goes into Hong Kong to suppress these protests, it's going to have a terrible effect on Hong Kong. And since Hong Kong is in many ways a conduit for investment in and out of China, it's going to have a ripple effect on the Chinese economy, which is already suffering because of the trade war and is already suffering because under President Xi, there's been no additional economic liberalization that China so desperately needs to get their economy getting real growth, not the statistical nonsense you get out of the Chinese government, but real sustained economic prosperity.
Well, the Hong Kong executive, Carrie Lam, she's really under a lot of pressure. She said in one of her comments, I believe earlier today, that, look, these protesters, as they carry on, are going to be in a very, quote, dangerous situation. It was not even a veiled threat. But to your point, how likely is direct intervention from Beijing? Will they take that step with the world watching?
I'm sure there are big debates going on in the corridors of power right now because the elite in China, which are very much connected with the government, the elite know that their net worth, their own prosperity is going to suffer if Hong Kong is substantially crippled as a magnet for free enterprise and economic growth. I mean, the good news, let's back up for a second. The good news is that many of us didn't think that China was going to leave Hong Kong alone when you had the turnover from British rule. But they did. And Hong Kong continued to prosper, and it was a great success story. Now, that's in danger. I mean, in theory, China agreed with the British 50 years of complete self-rule, or basically complete self-rule for Hong Kong. If that goes away, it's going to hurt China. It's going to be very bad for Hong Kong, and it's just going to be sad news for the world.
It is, and that's kind of a last-ditch attempt almost by these protesters to try and prevent what seems inevitable, and that's sad.
It is. And one thing I should say is that in Hong Kong, it's actually very funny. The business community is not really in favor of democracy. They just want stability. They just want the rule of law. They want the free enterprise system, the low taxes. Just keep that system that was in place between 1997 and 2018. They're not agitating for direct democracy a la the United States. They just want the status quo. Go back to the old status quo.
Just leave us alone. All right, Dan Mitchell, thanks as always
for
coming in, Dan. Appreciate it.